Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to our webinar. The topic for today is Streamline every aspect of your inventory and manufacturing process with the latest technology. I'd like to confirm that everyone is able to hear me. If you can, could you please raise your hand? As I mentioned, today's webinar is Streamline every aspect of your inventory and manufacturing process with the latest technology. We appreciate you taking your time out of your busy day to join us today. There's a couple housekeeping items that we'd like to mention before we begin the presentation. All attendees are in listen-only mode. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please either raise your hand so that we can unmute your line or submit them through the GoToWebinar question box. We'll be answering questions throughout the presentation and we'll follow up afterwards to answer additional questions as well. I'd like to introduce today's speakers. We have industry experts Catherine Ellis and Cody Smith from One Software Solutions, who specialize in inventory distribution and manufacturing solutions for businesses. One Software Solutions has been a longtime Socius partner, using technology combined with the best practices to help our clients grow their businesses. So at this point, Catherine, I believe we're ready to transition the presentation over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Lori. And thanks to everyone for attending today. So we understand that you all have very busy work schedules, so we really appreciate you taking time to join us. So ever since I've started here at Scanco, which is 4 years, I've had the pleasure of working with Lori and Socius, and we've always had such a great working relationship. They're the experts in their field and truly care about really understanding their clients' business operations and needs so that they can offer the best solutions to fit those needs. So again, my name is Catherine. I'm the account manager here at Scanco and specific dedicated Scanco resource for Socius. So we're very excited today to talk to you about One and what One software can do for your inventory and manufacturing. I guess it would really help to kind of give you a bit of an overview or review for some of you who are not familiar with One, just a little bit of a background there. So what is One? Over the past 8 years, ACS, JDB, and Scanco have worked with hundreds of mutual clients, and we kept hearing the same thing. So, we had customers coming to us telling us that, once everything was installed, the solutions really do come together seamlessly. They just, they didn't like having to go through 3 different companies. They didn't like having the 3 discussions, the 3 demos. It made for a very tedious process. So at the customer's request, we formed One Software, which really is just a combined solution for Sage 100. So the One platform is designed to move and scale as your companies grow by bringing some of the most advanced technology in the industry. So as your company's needs change or as supply chain shifts, One was designed to grow with you. So with One, you're going to get anything from your basic standard multi-bin and manufacturing to a full-blown warehouse management system. So One truly is a one-of-a-kind solution. So before we get into our new features and releases with One, let's kind of review the core functionality of our solution. So what's nice is that it incorporates your traditional warehouse transactions like receiving, transfers, physical counts, along with shipping and some advanced features. So what we're really trying to do here is help companies with keeping up with growth. So again, as your company expands, there's a lot of changes that can happen. Changes that are going to cause your customers to demand more. So when someone calls you to place an order, let's face it, they're expecting that order to be shipped probably that day, and they want it to be accurate. That's key for customer satisfaction. It's so easy anymore for customers to, to find other vendors or distributors. There's really limitless options that they have there. And let's face it, if their orders are not accurate or they're late, they're going to start considering those other options. So it's extremely important to make sure that you're confident in your system and you can trust that your system is 100% accurate. So using a solution and having the technology out in your warehouse allows you really to stay ahead of the curve in a sense. So not only are you gaining efficiencies immediately, but you're setting yourself up to allow for a lot more functionality. There's always some new app that's running, on the devices, and having those devices already in your warehouse means that you're ahead of the curve. Because when the new app comes out, you're ready to install it, start using it, and the features along with it, whether it's in your warehouse or your guys have it out there on their trucks. There really is a lot that you can do and a lot of savings there as well. So it all boils down to having accurate inventory, because accurate inventory is going to lead to reduced inventory or having less safety stock, less stock disappearing, no more late fees or late shipments, less turnaround over time, and so on. So it gives a great overall view of where your inventory is at, at all times. So what's new with One? We have so many new releases to go over with you today. Since announcing One, which you all may remember was last year at Summit in July, the journey really has been incredible. So not just working with the leaders in the industry, but by sharing the integration technologies, we're committed to bringing users a seamlessly integrated product across all aspects of the warehouse. And truly, I believe that's the key, because the more that these products are integrated, the better the experience is going to be for the Sage 100 users. So let's talk more about the new releases. So we've added a lot of enterprise capabilities, as you can see here. We've added pallet tracking and extended that out to the scanner. So this is going to allow you to track pallets, or some of you may refer to this as license plating. And this feature is, again, going to allow you to track multiple quantities and mixed SKUs on the pallet level. And by conveniently scanning one pallet ID barcode, the system is going to recognize that it contains all of the SKUs, lot numbers, serial numbers, and quantities associated with that pallet. You have pallet printing. This is going to allow for you to print a pallet ID label either before or after you create the pallet. Enhanced dashboard capabilities. So this we really have across the inventory and manufacturing sides. So on the inventory side, you'll be able to see what users are picking, what orders they're picking, how many orders they've picked that day, the items that they're scanning, and so on. And on the manufacturing side, you'll be able to see what step a job number is on and how long it's been in that step, and so on and so forth. The Wave Batch feature, this is going to allow you to set up a pick inside of Sage. So for one or more of your sales orders, anyhow, based on a given number of criteria that's important for you. So you could choose to create a pick based on, ship dates, or maybe you want to have all of your overnights to be picked that day, or a fill rate. So again, there's all kinds of, different criteria, and it's limitless to the information that you have in the sort field. The directed put away feature. So this feature, once you receive the inventory into Sage, you have the capability of being directed on where to put the item. So based on what you have set up in Sage, whether it's volume of a bin location or how many individual items that bin can hold. And then we have our new project management team. So we now have dedicated staff that their sole purpose is to organize the implementation across 2 or more of the products. So again, we really wanted to focus on streamlining this process to make it as easy as possible for the end user. The next great new feature that I want to touch on is the on-the-water receiving. So this feature is going to allow you to receive inventory on the water and when you receive it in the warehouse. You have the ability to track multiple purchase orders in containers. With the pallet tracking feature, you also have the ability to track those pallets in containers. It's going to record actual landed costs to your inventory. You're going to be allowed to allocate the material in the container to a sales order. With the inventory received dates, you'll have full visibility to track estimated and actual container ship dates, arrival dates, custom clearance dates, and final receive dates. So this way you can run reports to track your vendor's performance. And then being able to evaluate your inventory and stock status of goods on the water. So multi-bin standard. So because one's multi-bin system is so robust, we've actually started having customers ask for more of a standard model. Now we've released multi-bin standard, which is going to include your core functionality that you see here, the inventory management, sales order, purchase order, and RMA modules, just without the advanced warehouse management features. So this is going to include, multi-bin distribution, the sales order and entry pre-allocations. It also is going to include features to auto-allocate locations in all transactions. And we are running a promotion from now until March 31st as well. So you'll be able to receive multi-bin standard free with any warehouse automation scanning purchase. The next big release that we're really excited to talk about is WO Scan being launched on iOS and Android. So now you have the ability of doing your material issues, your production entry, your label entry, all from a mobile device. And let's face it, you guys, mobile technology, again, really has become kind of a staple in the workplace with management, encouraging staff to use these devices. Some of you ask why. I've heard that several times. Honestly, I feel that it's because the majority of us today, we carry smartphones around for personal use. So we're familiar with the devices. Another great point here is that the mobile devices are nearly a third of the cost of the traditional rugged scan guns. And great news for any of you manufacturers that are looking to do nesting or pallet tracking, we have that available as well. So we also have integrated all the pallet tracking features to WO Scan and XScan so that you'll be able to do completions to pallets and have full capability there. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Cody, and he'll be taking you through a brief demonstration of the features discussed.
Awesome. Thanks, Catherine. So what I'm going to do quickly is go ahead and get our demo system up here. And I'm actually going to take you through some of the software that Catherine was just discussing. That way you can really get an idea of how that's going to work, how it's going to integrate into your Sage ERP, and some of the benefits that it will provide. So we're going to go ahead and launch our demo system here. So now you'll see on your desktop that we have our Sage 100 on the left, and on the right we have Scanco Warehouse. So what you're seeing on the right is exactly what the user is going to see on their handheld. So whether that's a iPod Touch inside of a scan sled, a traditional warehouse scanner such as an Intermec or Symbol device, the interface will be the same, so your learning curve will definitely be short. You can mix and match devices and have that unified look throughout. So we're going to start actually on the Sage side to show you some of the pieces that we have enhanced for multi-bin capabilities. So as we all know, inside of Sage, you typically have the ability to store an item in one location. With multi-bin, we open up that limitation and give you the capability to track these items through multiple locations. So I'm going to go ahead into Item Inquiry, and we're going to look at one of our items. And you'll see we have the familiar view of our warehouse levels, our quantity on hand, on our PO, how many of that item are available, and so on. What's new is you'll see a multi-bin. So the multi-bin tab here drills that down into individual locations. So you'll see here that we have a list of locations. We have different types of locations. So that location might be a picking location, could be an overflow, shipping, staging location, receiving, or one of the on the water and transit locations. It'll also show you if that item is on a pallet in that bin location or if it's just in that bin location by itself. So you have full visibility throughout the system. If you're using pallets, if you're not using pallets, you still have that level of visibility. So what's important here is kind of seeing the information it provides, especially for those customers that may be tracking lot numbers. We have receive dates of all the items. So this really allows our FIFO, LIFO situations to be tracked a lot easier and to have a lot more accuracy and traceability during those requirements. So the next piece we're going to get into, we actually will move over to the handheld. And what we want to show you is, some of our core functionality. The first couple transactions that we're going to go over are available with or without the multi-bin. So if you want to start scanning, but you're not quite ready to jump into a full warehouse management system, that's no problem. We can automate those existing processes in Sage without adding multi-bin, without adding the manufacturing pieces. You can just choose what you need now and then scale up as your company's ready. So when we go into receiving, you'll see there's a few options here. Receiving by order is our most common. If you're using batches, whether that's on receiving, on shipping, doesn't really matter what transaction, you're going to have the capability to extend that out to the handheld. I'm going to go ahead and just do a lookup. You'll see that we do have a batch created in our system. I'll go ahead and choose that. I do have the option to create a new batch if I need to. So at this point, typically we're going to either scan a purchase order, we can look at the vendor's packing list, type in that PO number, or we can do a lookup and see all of the open POs. And it's essentially going to allow us to choose a PO. It validates that PO is good, and now I can scan. If I do a lookup, it's going to show all the items as well as the quantity ordered, received, and unreceived. So on this PO, we just have one line item for a quantity of 2. So we're just going to scan our items. It's going to validate that's the right item. And since we are in a multi-bin system, we're going to bring that into the receiving bin. If you do not have multi-bin, that prompt will not be displayed, and you'll just go straight to the quantity. So in this configuration, we are typing in the quantity with the on-screen keyboard here. You also have the option to do what's called scan each, and this is kind of more like the grocery store approach, where every time we scan an item, it takes it as a quantity of 1. So we'll go ahead and enter that item. Now, as you know, this item is, this purchase order is fully received, but just to show the validation, if I do scan an item that's not on that purchase order, it's going to let me know the item's not found in the purchase order. So we are making sure you're receiving the right items from your vendors, collecting quantities, and if it is lotted or serialized, we collect lot and serial numbers as well. So at the point you're done, you just tell the handheld that we have completed that transaction, and then we can go into our receipt of goods. And you'll see that we have the receipt of goods that has been created. So we have our items, our quantity of 2 for 6655, and that has been put into the receiving location. So at that point, the receipt of goods is completed. We have all the information we need, and typically the back office would just review and then post this as normal. So what we're doing is basically validating the items, collecting the information, and then we eliminate all the entry back into Sage. So you're gaining a lot of accuracy and a lot of time back in your day by not manually entering these transactions. We do automate all of the inventory transactions inside of transaction entry. So issues, receipts, adjustments, transfers. You can pick and choose which of those are necessary on the handhelds. The largest transaction, that's a huge time-saving transaction, is going to be the directed put away. And the directed put away is essentially telling the system, this is what we currently have in our receiving bins, and now I want to go put that into our stocking bins. So we provide a utility called Location Replenishment Dashboard. I'll tell it I want to bring everything from the PO receiving stage for warehouse 000, and when I calculate this, it's going to go out and find everything in the receiving bin, look at my open bin locations, whether we do that by volume or by quantities of each item that will fit in the bin, and it also looks at min-max levels for picking locations, for overflow, however you want to have that set up, and we can call this our associates put away. And now it's as easy as going out to the handheld, enter the directed put away transaction, and you'll see we have our put away here. So the user at this point is provided with a list of the items that they need to take from receiving and put away individual bin locations. So it's saying go to receiving. I need to grab 200 of item 8971. So we would actually scan that item. It knows we have the right item. It's also telling me which lot number. So for your lotted and serialized items, we have to validate that. And then we're telling it the quantity. You'll also notice that we have thumbnail image. So in every transaction, we do have the ability to display the image if you already have that set up inside of Sage. So we'll go ahead and transfer our 200, and now it's telling me to take the same item to E20M. So obviously I have a lot of this item in receiving, and it's going to be broken up across multiple bin locations. So this will make sure that your bins are being stocked in the most efficient manner. Once that's completed, the transfers take place in Sage, and you'll be complete with that transaction. So we're going to go ahead and back out of that and go into physical count. So physical count, this is going to allow your physical count times to be reduced by about 75 to 80%. And the main time savings there is the fact that we eliminate all entry back into Sage. So you might currently be spending 3, 4, 5 days to count, and then another 4 days to a week inputting that information. With the use of scanning out in the warehouse, the count times will be reduced. So you'll get that count time down by quite a bit, and then as soon as those counts are completed, all of the information is automatically put back into Sage. So it's going to be a huge time saving. You'll just run the variance report, recount as necessary, and then complete your counts. The next piece that we really want to touch on is going to be the wave batch picking, as well as some of the other picking options. So wave batch is part of our integrated warehouse management inside of Sage 100. So that is another utility similar to our location dashboard, where we can actually go in to wave batch order selection. And like Catherine mentioned, we can choose one or more orders based on any given number of criteria. So once again, we'll create a new wave batch. And this is going to be our associates pick. And we can choose the criteria. So maybe I just want to pick everything that has a ship date essentially this year. And I want to make sure that I'm only doing fill rates of 75% or higher. So any of the orders that we're not going to fill at least 75% will not be presented as applicable items. We can also do it by ship vias. So maybe we only want our overnights to be included, or maybe we only want to have 5 orders at a time. We can select all of that criteria. It goes out, looks at the sales orders that meet that criteria, gives me a quick little overview. So you'll see most of these are filled 100% with the exception of these 2. And I would just choose the ones I want to pick and add those to my wave batch. Now, you'll also notice a priority code here. So the priority code, we don't have set up on the customers that are selected, but this allows you to assign priority codes to your customers. So if you have customers that have a higher priority than another customer, this makes sure that the materials are being allocated to the priority customers first. And you can have multiple priority levels as well. So a priority A will get the allocated materials before a priority B would. All right, now at the point that you're going to do a pick, a wave batch pick is essentially saying I have multiple orders and we take all those orders and group all the lines together. You can split that. So a split pick is great for those of you that may have your warehouse divided up into different zones or regions. So with a split pick, it'll take all of the items for 20, 30 sales orders, maybe it's just 2, whatever the case may be. And it's going to split that into individual areas. So maybe we'll go with a food production company. It'll split the pick into the freezer, into the refrigerated goods, and also the dry goods. That way each user in their area is only picking their items for those orders. It has an auto split, or you can do a manual split and assign different rules. So once we accept these, it'll go ahead and allocate. Once it's allocated, you're allowed to go out to the handheld, into the wave batch, and start picking. This is what's called a directed pick. So at the point I tell it where I'm going to be putting these items, which in this case we'll just put them in our start bin, it's telling me go to this bin location and scan this item. So we go there, we scan the item, it's telling me how many I need to grab. So it's a very simple transaction, very easy to follow. Go to this bin location, now scan this item. So we'll just continue listening to the system, following what it's telling us to do. As you see, the bin location has changed. I still need the same item for a quantity of 5. So this will guide us through the warehouse once in the most efficient manner to pick all of the items for those orders. Once we send that through, that's actually going to fill out our pick inside of the wave batch selection and allow us to review that and then post those and essentially transfer everything to the staging location. So it's a great utility to have that really speeds up the picking process. Now, maybe you like the idea of a directed pick, but you don't want to get into all of the wave batch selections. You just want to do a little more on the simple side. We have that option as well with our order picking and wave picking. So order picking is where you're still doing your pick ticket as normal. We'd recommend add a barcode to that pick ticket, and when I choose my warehouse, my staging bin, I can actually just scan a sales order and it's going to give me a quick breakdown. There's 3 lines on this order. I'm going to be able to pick all 3, and there's nothing with an insufficient quantity. So this lets me know that this order is going to be picked complete. And it tells me go to bin A10L, scan this item for a quantity of 3. Now it's in the same bin for 8971. This is a lotted item, so I actually want to choose. I would scan my lot number, or I can do a lookup and choose the lot number I'm grabbing. And we're going to do a quantity of 4. And now it's directing me for the serialized item. So we'll scan our item. I would scan my 4 serial numbers or manually select them. We only have 2 available in this location, so it's going to allow me to grab those 2. And we can skip to another bin if there is insufficient quantity, or it would automatically take us to that bin. So at this point, we can send that through, and that now allocates all of those items to that sales order. So inside of Sage, we can actually go into our sales order and I can see that everything I picked has been allocated, so it's essentially being held for that order inside of our shipping bin. So it's not going to be sold to another customer. Our customer service or sales team can go into the order, see where it is in the picking process. So at this point, they know this is already being staged, and it should be going out today on the later shipment. So it gives you a lot of insight. Of course, we do have real-time dashboards that show all of this information before it's even in Sage, creating the sales order, and gives you the ability to know who's picking that order while they're actually physically picking it. So as you can see there, there's a lot of capability, a lot of functionality to make the warehouse operations a lot more efficient. Now, on the pallet tracking, this is a great tool, like Catherine was explaining, to track multiple SKUs, multiple lots or serials on one pallet by just scanning a pallet ID. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it create a new pallet, and you can use existing. We have a lot of customers that'll just get pre-printed labels. You can get the next pallet number, or you can just have pre-printed labels that are on the pallets. So I'm going to go ahead and scan this pre-defined ID, and it's telling me to put in where that pallet's going, and I'll just tell it which items I'm adding. So we're just going to add a couple items here to the pallet. We'll add, we'll say 75 of this item and just a few of this item. So not only does it allow you to track pallets, you can also track cases, master packs, multi-levels. So you can build a case and then put multiple cases on a pallet. It can get pretty detailed. We don't want to spend too much time getting into that, but if there's any of you that think that's something you would be interested in, we can take you a little deeper at any time. So we're going to go ahead and create that pallet. And when I go into my inventory management, I can actually at this point go into the pallet ID. And you'll see we have our pallet ID created. And it knows there's 15 of this item, 75 of this item. So whenever I'm doing a physical count, a transfer, if I'm shipping a pallet, all I have to do is scan that pallet ID, and it knows exactly what's on there and what's going to that sales order or into that physical count. So it's a very easy way to get a lot of depth into your system. All right. Now, we do have label printing. We typically don't spend too much time on the label printing because of the fact it's a little difficult to see a label being printed through the internet. So the label printing operates on the handheld as well as on the desktop. So if you need it printed from the handheld, no problem. We do have a more robust version on the desktop that allows you to go in a little more depth on the labels and a lot more customizable. So now I'm actually going to switch to another demo system that we have here, and this is going to give you an idea of the manufacturing. So what you're seeing now is WO scan. A lot of you may be familiar with this or possibly looked at it in the past. I am showing you the desktop application because that, despite the fact that we are now on iOS and Android, it still has a large install base on desktops, tablets, and touch computers out in the manufacturing floor. So some of the transactions that we are automating, material issues, that's probably the most common. And once again, this is all barcoded, so we recommend print out barcoded work order travelers. And at this point, they would scan the work order. It would allow them to tell it which item they're actually issuing. It can autofill the warehouse, bin locations, and so on. You can also auto issue. So if you don't want to manually issue everything, you can just at one scan basically issue everything out for that work order. We can do labor tracking. So labor tracking allows employees or crews to track into a job or track into a step depending on how granular or generic you need that. Operation codes. We do track non-productive labor. So if you still need to track labor but it's non-productive, that's no problem. We're tracking downtime as well. So a lot of information being collected for your reporting. Completions, of course, allows us to do the work order completions from either a mobile device or out in the warehouse. Just like material issues, we're scanning the work order, and then if it's being completed to inventory, maybe We can complete that actually to pallets now. Whatever makes sense for your manufacturing, we can definitely automate that. Work order review is a dashboard that's going to essentially allow you to see everything. As a manager, you can also change it, so it kind of opens it up almost like an editable Excel. We do have a QC module. The QC module is completely customizable. Depending on requirements, maybe FDA requirements, we have a lot of aerospace with FAA requirements. We can collect almost any given amount of information into the QC module and allow that traceability for your ISO standards, whatever you could possibly need. So the work order is a very simple transaction. So this is, essentially one. And you'll see kind of how integrated it is with the one warehouse management inside of Sage, doing your multi-bin, your pallet tracking on the Sage side, as well as the warehouse automation tying into that, and then of course the work order automation going in as well. Now, the same way that we're kind of integrating with the warehouse automation on the handheld back into Sage and adding a lot of functionality there, we also have work order efficiency packages that can speed up the work order processes, whether it's automatically creating work orders from POs or sales orders, any given number of efficiency gains that can be had from what's called work order efficiency base. And just like the multi-bin standard is included as a promotion when you purchase warehouse automation, if you purchase the manufacturing automation, you're also able to get the base manufacturing efficiency. So we do have the promotions on both the warehouse and manufacturing side going through March 31st. So that essentially kind of wraps up the demo and covering the pieces on the actual software side. So I think at this point, Lori, we'd love to open it up if there's any questions.
Sure, thank you. Before we get to the Q&A, we wanted to just mention a couple things. If you can pull up the slide deck again, that would be great, and we'll go through that.
All right, are you seeing it now?
Not yet.
All right.
Okay. We can see your one slide there. Can you advance the slide just? There we go. We wanted to just review the promotions, and I wanted to mention that all upcoming events and current promotions can be found on our website at socius1.com. And as Cody and Catherine mentioned, in conjunction with today's webinar, from now until March 31st, you will receive free the standard multi-bin module with any scanning warehouse automation purchase, and you will also receive free the manufacturing efficiency base module with every work order scan or WO scan purchase. Also, Sage has announced their first quarter promotions, which can be found on our website as well, and those expire at the end of March. If you look at the middle box on our screen, or there has the link to the promotions, and Diane or I could get those to you as well, and I'll give you our contact information in just a minute. Lastly, I wanted to mention that Sage Summit is closer than ever this year. It will be held in Chicago from July 25th through the 28th. For those that have never attended, it's the best place to learn more about the software you own and get great ideas on improvements you can make to help your business grow. It is an awesome event, and we've never had anyone that's gone that has regretted it. Everybody gets so much out of it, and if you are thinking about going, then don't hesitate to mention it. We can get you references or let you talk to someone who's been there before who can give you a little bit more insight. Lastly, I'll leave you with our contact information. If you could advance one more slide. And there are email addresses for both Diane Graziano and myself, and we would be more than happy to get you more information or schedule a personal follow-up with you so that we can review how these solutions can help benefit your business.